What is up, my friends on the internet? Back at it with another video, and on today's episode we are talking about Triumph scramblers. I wanted one scrambler, I bought a different scrambler. Am I happy about that? Do I regret that? We're gonna get all into it in this episode. Stick with me, it's gonna be fun. So I went to the dealership and I was between two motorcycles. I was really interested in the Triumph Scrambler 400x. As you guys know, I've mentioned it in several videos now, but my heart was set on the Triumph Scrambler 400x. And as a backup plan, as a maybe, you know, alternative idea, I had the Triumph Trident in mind. The dealership had both bikes ready to go, good price on both. We've already owned a Trident. I know what to expect with the Triumph Trident, so it was really like a safe choice. I knew the strengths, I knew the weaknesses, I was okay with that. I felt like it would do really good daily rider duty. And then the Triumph Scrambler 400x, you guys know I parted with my last dirt bike, so getting a new thing to go off-road with sounded really good. And that bike is the new hotness. It's fun. I like small displacement stuff, or smaller displacement stuff. It's that like nice little mid-range as far as power goes. I liked it. It sounded good. I went to the dealership expecting to get it. That is not what happened. So there were three key reasons why I ended up going with the Scrambler 900 that you are sitting atop of, my new tripod, over the Scrambler 400x. And in this video, I kind of just want to deep dive into those reasons because I think it's a really good thought exercise if you're considering the 400x to decide whether or not it is right for you. Some of you it is right for, absolutely. Some of you I think it is an amazing buy and you should run out and get one. But some other ones I think you might want to consider something else. And for that group of people, I'm going to tell you what you might want to consider as well. But first, before we get into that, we need to get into the reasons why I decided not to buy that bike. And reason number one was fit and finish. I am used to a really high level of fit and finish from Triumph, and that bike just does not achieve it. Do I think it achieves standard Triumph fit and finish? No. But do I think it achieves better fit and finish than a lot of the competitors? Yes. The bike is a Triumph through and through. It is really nice, but it is built to a budget, and that budget is very low. But if you compare it to other bikes in the same price point from the Japanese manufacturers, from other Euro manufacturers, I do think you're getting your money's worth. I think it is nicer than a lot of the bikes you get for the same money from other manufacturers, and that actually includes Royal Enfield. Every time I make a video about a bike and I start talking about price, people bring up Royal Enfield, and I did actually cross-shop the Scrambler 400x against the Royal Enfields. I went and looked at the Himalayan. I missed my own finger. I went and looked at the Himalayan, and I went and looked at the Scram 401. I got some seat time with both of those bikes, and the Scrambler does look nicer fit and finish wise. It is better equipped, but it is not equipped to the same standard as other Triumphs, and that's kind of what I was expecting. That's kind of what I was looking for. Is it realistic to think you're gonna get your standard modern classic fit and finish for $5,000? No, but I was hopeful, and after getting hands on it, I decided it wasn't as nice as I would like for a bike that I was keeping super long term, because that is the goal for this bike. The goal for this bike is to keep it for the long haul. This is gonna be my bike, the bike that I do my trips on, the bike that I do my daily commuting on, the one that I put all of my money into as far as aftermarket stuff goes. And with that being said, we kind of rolled directly into the reason number two that I did not buy the Scrambler 400x, and that is because the aftermarket is terrible. The aftermarket just doesn't exist yet. And there's no real telling how strong it's gonna be ever. Looking at all of the major websites, the brands that normally sell stuff for Triumphs, that normally sell stuff for modern classics specifically, they had nothing on sale. One of the big manufacturers didn't even have the bike listed in its model list. It wasn't even there yet. So from that point, from the aftermarket, I went to Triumph themselves. I went to Triumph's website for their authorized, for their like official aftermarket parts, or their official parts for the Scrambler 400X. They're not aftermarket if they're official. Those are contradictory. I went to Triumph's website to look at parts for the bike specifically, and there's a good list of parts, not very extensive, but there's a good list of parts, but every single one of them is back ordered or listed as pre-order only with no estimated time of arrival. I found one part with an estimated time of arrival and it said spring, which is now. So I then contacted the dealer about aftermarket parts for them, and I have a friend at the dealer. I asked him straight up, I was like, when should we expect these parts? And he said several months from now, maybe 6 months out at best, is like their best estimate they have. And for me, wanting to modify a bike on camera for videos, wanting to modify a bike to fine tune it for what I need, I can't wait till some like mystery day to get parts. That is actually why I sold my Triumph bobber. I loved the Bonneville bobber. It was a really, really fun motorcycle, but there was a couple things I wanted to do to dial it in for myself, and just not being able to get those parts kind of ruined it for me. It killed the allure. Like I wanted to put taller bars on it, and by the time I found bars that would work, I had to go with Harley bars to find bars that would work and get the kind of rise that I wanted. But then the extended cables for the bobber were back ordered for 6 months. So I could get bars, but I couldn't actually mount them because I had no cables. So I ended up selling that bike, and I didn't want to re-enter into another platform with the same exact issue. Honestly, with worse issue, because the bobber was out for several years at the point when I had it. The Scrambler is new. The aftermarket just doesn't even exist yet, much less being in stock. So that was kind of a really big deterrent for me. And the final kind of nail in the coffin, which kind of happened after I already decided not to buy the bike, so that needs a little explaining. The first two things were big enough where I decided not to buy the Scrambler 400X. I ended up buying the Scrambler 900, like I said, but I kept like kind of going over it in my head, being like, did I make the right decision? Did I make the right decision? The 400X is really cool. The couple of little shorts I put up about the 400X were well received. People are excited about this bike. It is the new hotness, you know? So I hit up Triumph and I got a test ride on the bike. I got to put some saddle time in on the 400X, and that was kind of the final nail in the coffin. Kind of at that point the coffin was already buried, but that was kind of my final confirmation that I made the right choice not buying it. And the power on that bike just did not do it for me. As far as 400cc bikes go, it was plenty powerful, I suppose, but it just wasn't engaging. The way the power delivered was not good. A lot of people that ride, like let's say the Royal Enfield Himalayan, or honestly the BMW G310R we had, the power kicks in early on those bikes. You kind of get that nice little from the line lug. You get that power real low in the rev limiter, or real low in the rev band, the power band, and that is not the case with that Scrambler 400X. That bike wants to be revved up to find its power, and first and second gear are really short. So it's just a really bad combination of power delivery. For first and second gear, you want to ring them out to find that power higher up because it's not there from the bottom. But then the gears just rev limiter, rev limiter. Third and fourth, those gears are a little longer, so you can actually find where that power is and get some decent speed going. But off the line, stoplight to stoplight, it was really, really unengaging, unengaging. That's how you say that. It just wasn't fun. I just did not enjoy the way that power kicked in, which of course could be solved by the aftermarket. A lot of my issues with the bike could be solved by the aftermarket, but then we revisit point number 2. There is no aftermarket. Like everything that felt a little cheap, I could upgrade it if aftermarket existed. The power delivery, I could upgrade it and find power and do exhaust and do a tune if it existed. But all around, nothing exists to fix the shortcomings with the bike. And that's just not great for a person like me, a person that wants to tinker, a person that wants to perfect. I want better suspension. I want an exhaust. I want a tune. I want a new seat. I want to change up the lights. I want to make everything as nice as possible for me, especially if I'm going to be off-roading this bike. I want cool hand guards, not just the factory ones. I want a better skid plate. I want a tall front fender. I want all those things that you've seen me put on many a bikes that I've taken off-road. And they just don't exist for that bike. So poor fit and finish, poor power delivery, and no solutions on the market were kind of it for me. But that might not be you. some of you, like I said, I think should have this bike. Those being people that are just looking for a very first bike. They want something that's really stylish because the bike looks really good. They want something that's stylish, and they want maybe to go off-road. If you don't realistically want to go off-road, definitely just get that Street 400. I think the fit and finish on that bike, the handling on that bike, the performance on that bike in general are way better on the Street 400. It's the cheaper bike, and I do think it is the better bike. I legitimately think if it were my money and I had to buy one of those 400s or something of that class, if my budget was like, let's say sub $6,000, I wouldn't be shopping the 400X. I'd be shopping the Street. If I really wanted to do some off-roading, I wouldn't be shopping Triumph at all. I'd be looking at the CRF 250, the 300L. I'd be looking at the KLX 230 Supermoto. That is a bike I still really, really like. The seat time I got on that bike, I thoroughly enjoyed. Power feels better, handling feels better, it's way better off-road. So I think that's a decision you need to ask yourself. If you actually plan to go off-road, maybe just consider a really dedicated off-road bike. Or if you really want those classic lines, I'd probably just go ahead and head over to Royal Enfield, for me in particular. But if you know you're gonna stay on the street, you just want a classically styled bike, but you want some like beginner or like entry level power delivery, I'd be looking at that Street 400, because you get lots and lots of style from Triumph. You get lots of pretty decent fit and finish compared to the same things in the same like price point, but you're gonna get that kind of premium feel. I like the Street 400. I do not like the 400X all that much, sadly, because it's definitely the kind of bike that I would love. It's the kind of bike that I would love to recommend, but it just didn't do it for me. I would probably, maybe if I really like Triumph. I really do like Triumph, so maybe I would consider getting the Street 400 and maybe throwing some knobbies on it and just risking it for the biscuit, you know? But yeah, that's my take on it. And after having bought the Scrambler 900 and put a lot of miles on it already, I am very, very resound in my decision. This was the right bike for me, because I don't need a $5,000 motorcycle. I don't need a $6,000 motorcycle. I was trading in $20,000 worth of motorcycle when I traded in my Dyna and my Trail. I had a lot of like stuff on the table, you know. I was giving up a really good touring bike. I was giving up a really good dirt bike. I was giving up two like modern classics, as you say. So I had a little bit more wiggle room, and this bike did that for me. I wanted to go right around, like, I was trading in 20. I wanted to get around like 10 to 12-ish. And I got this bike for right around there, and it is well worth it. Fit and finish is immaculate. The power is really nice. Anything I want to change, there's an extensive aftermarket available, ready to purchase for this bike. It kind of gives me those Harley vibes where I can buy anything I want for it, and that is really nice for a person like me that just wants to tinker. So yeah, that is that. I am very happy that I did not buy the 400X. I am very happy that I did buy the Scrambler 900.